Hey guys, Corey Correa here. Welcome to Blue Talks, and I hope you enjoy this video.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sharva Hampton-Campbell, and I am a professor at Chicago State University in the social work department. I'm also an author and an empowerment strategist. You probably wonder, what is an empowerment strategist? Was it just that? Creating strategies to uplift others and to show them how to walk in their gifts and their talents, whatever their purpose to do, helping them understand that and finding their voice and leading from that angle. My talk today will cover telling stories that heal, connect, and inspire. I truly believe that stories have that power. They're sacred. Stories are our opportunity to share with others, to promote healing, to promote promise, and to help us just relieve or to understand the pain and how to alleviate the pain. So those are the three areas that I want to talk about: how to heal, how to connect, and how to inspire. I believe that we can't heal what we won't name. And when I thought about that statement, it took me back to a time when I was a child growing up in Louisiana. I'm originally from Louisiana. So growing up there, my great aunt raised me during my formative years. And she had a vegetable farm, small vegetable farm. She had a small chicken farm. And she also had a fruit trees. And I learned so many things about being a leader, helping her, digging in the dirt, you know, um, taking the time to, in chicken yards, roosters kind of manage the yard, manage the hens, so to speak. And so sometimes they would fly out. Sometimes he is not them. It's only one rooster to one yard, right? Would fly out of the coop and we would chase him in the middle of the night in the alley to clip his wings. You're probably thinking, how does that apply to anything? Well, it taught me skills about getting up early, being on time, how to manage projects and things, because learning how to manage that chicken yard was something, how to manage that garden, how to manage those fruit trees, learning about pruning, learning about the parts of a chicken at such an early age. So those are fun memories. And as I'm sharing those with you, I'm telling you a story about my past. And it was an amazing part of my past. However, I said I was raised by my great aunt during my formative years. Telling you all that story, I realized that as a child, I learned then how important stories were to write things. It was part of my healing process. And then I realized that also I wanted to share that with others. I wanted others to have the opportunities to talk about their childhood, talk about whatever was important in their lives, because we never know who that story may touch, whom that story may heal. There were no um, traumatic things that happened in my life, but I believe that me talking about my great aunt would share with someone, could be a beacon of life for someone who didn't have the opportunity to grow up with their mother, to let them know that it's okay and that you can, in whatever environment you are in, that you can still thrive and you can still develop and you can still grow. I also believe that when truth is spoken out loud, pain becomes purpose. In my work as a social worker, I work with foster youth, and many times they share a lot about loss. But within that sharing, they talk about things that I see the resilience that they're able to bounce back. And I would meet with them and tell them, what's your story? I would meet with them mostly on a college campus. And that's where I started a program called the Village Project. And yes, the project really focused on their academic, emotional, and social well-being. I didn't focus a lot on academics. I focused more on their social and emotional well-being because I felt like that those two could really improve and enhance their academic work. because many times there were triggers on campus that really set them back. And so by focusing on that, it gave them opportunity to work on themselves and know that they could graduate from college and they could be successful, even though they've been through a lot of pain. So we talk about what's going on with you, what has happened in your life, and where do you want to go from there. I also believe that belonging grows where stories are welcome, and the Village Project provided that welcoming environment for those youth, that they could share, they could be transparent and know that there was no one judging them and they could be vulnerable and just work through whatever issues that they were dealing with. And it also gave them a safe space where other students had similar experiences. So that sense of belonging and understanding was provided there. Storytelling is how we reclaim what trauma tried to erase. Don't be afraid to tell your story if it's riddled with trauma, because you don't know who needs to hear your story. And as a therapist, the work that I do part time, many of my clients talk about what happened to them, and that is very cathartic for them to just release it. And we go through breathing exercises and talks and so forth just to release that pain. And then my next move is to, where do you want to go from here? You've released that pain. Where do you want to go from here? So I want you all to think about that. Is there anything within your story that you would be willing to release, and so that you could catapult to your next? Your story might be the survival guide someone else needs. I've written many books, and some of them have been placed in shelters nationwide. The main place was in South Africa, and I had it was placed at a domestic violence shelter. And I had the women write me back and say, we thought we were the only ones that have gone through domestic violence. And the book that I'm talking about is an anthology where women shared their stories, and two of the women shared about being in domestic violence situations and how they were able to overcome. And I wanted that book to be placed in resource libraries in areas where women who were suffering could see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I say to you, tell it. Tell your story. Someone is waiting to hear it. Like those women in Africa who share with me, like some of the foster youth who share with me their story, and then we're able to have a voice. I talked about publishing books. I started a publishing company called For the Greater Good Multimedia Publishing Company. And again, it is a platform for anyone who would like to share their story. We have written 2 anthologies with women. One of them will be a stage play in February in Urbana, Illinois, and I hope to take it nationwide. I've written children's books. I talked about pain, trauma. There is a 6-year-old that is in my home, and she's on the spectrum. I and my husband, we had no idea how to work with her. And we brought her into our world, but she said, no, you need to come into my world. So, and it was very painful entering into her world. So I decided to write stories about her. And so I've written 2 children's books about Jelani's jumping adventures, because that's what she likes to do, jump on everything. And I said, you're going to break your neck and I'm going to have a heart attack. So let me take this information and be creative. And so I turned our pain into purpose. And now she has an amazing college fund. So you never know who your story may empower and encourage. So I leave you with this today. Be willing to name it, whatever it is that's holding you back. Write it. Writing is cathartic. And then speak it. That's the power of storytelling. Thank you.